Hope is on the horizon for millions of Melburnians who've been in COVID lockdown for nearly 2 weeks. Overnight, there's been just one case detected, and that means it's very likely restrictions will be eased tomorrow night. Reporter Steph Ferrier joins us now from Melbourne. Steph, I'm so looking forward to seeing a good smile on your face.
Big smile on my face at the moment. Yeah, this is fantastic news, isn't it? Just one new case that we've got, and that case is linked to the current outbreak. This particular person has also been in quarantine during their infectious period as well. So just taking a quick look through those numbers, we have 24,500 test results received. We also have, almost 20,000 vaccinations. Sorry, I should say 28,500 test results received. We now have it's actually slightly different from what we did have previously. We've now got 83 active cases, but there was 77 active cases involved in this cluster or these outbreaks yesterday. So that should take it up to 73, but remembering that a lot of people might have also recovered as well. So they might have fallen off that number too. But this definitely means that we are looking to step out of lockdown finally on the stroke of midnight on Thursday. Now, this was always on the cards. Even yesterday, barring any unforeseen surprises, the Premier was already making motions about that. Let's have a quick listen to what the Acting Premier, James Merlino, had to say.
We remain on track to later in this week announce, as we've said we've planned to do all along, further easings of restriction in regional Victoria and careful easing of restrictions in Melbourne.
Now, of course, the devil is in the detail, Joe, because that is the time that we can come out of lockdown. However, we are still going to probably face restrictions. The ABC understands that ministers are going to finalise a blueprint this morning and then release it, basically saying that we'll be restricted to 25 kilometres from our home. We already knew that we weren't going to be able to go to regional Victoria for this long weekend. The Acting Premier had already made that clear, but there'll also likely be the same sort of restrictions that regional Victoria currently has at the moment when they came out of lockdown last week. So that will include things like limits on public gatherings. I believe it's only about 10 there. There's also no visitors still allowed into your home. There's also likely to be entertainment and hospitality caps and density limits as well. The good news is that school children should be able to return to the classrooms again in Melbourne, joining their regional counterparts as well. So there's more details that obviously we'll get just in terms of how long those additional restrictions will apply for as well will be one big question. And the regional areas, of course, are looking to probably have their restrictions eased even further.
And Steph, is there still a little bit of a caveat on this with the figures, still waiting for the figures for tomorrow morning?
Well, that's right. They have said barring any mystery cases, but we've seen a really good trajectory so far. And we have seen yesterday there were 2 cases, but they were linked and isolating. Today we've just got 1 case that's linked and isolating. So that gives us a much better feeling that they've really got on top of these downstream outbreaks.
Search for the what happened with that Delta outbreak.
We do believe that this is now linked to a genomic match to a traveller who was actually going to who had come in from Sri Lanka on May the 8th. Now, he tested positive on that same day and was moved from the Novotel Ibis to the Holiday Inn Medical Hotel, and then finally became negative and was cleared and released on the 23rd of May, where he went to the area of Glen Ira where he lives in the city's southeast. Now, at the moment, they haven't got an epidemiological link, which means that they haven't been able to work out this missing link between him and this West Melbourne cluster with the very dangerous or very contagious variant known as Delta. So the situation is they're trying to go back and trace through exactly where this could have jumped into the community. The Deputy Chief Health Officer, Professor Alan Cheng, has said that it's less likely that it happened on the plane or at the other end when he was actually released back into the community. It's more likely to have happened in the middle where he was actually in hotel quarantine. But he does say that, at the moment, we've already had all these negative tests from staff there that were fully vaccinated, from other people that were also staying at hotel quarantine as well. So it's really hard for them to see where there's this link. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
At this stage, we've not identified any high-risk incidents or interactions with staff or residents that may provide a clue as to the link to this outbreak.
And Steph, what's happening with the vaccination process there in Victoria today?
Yes, so today we're going to see the start of another group of people for a vaccination blitz. This is the paramedics, and they have, of course, already been able to get their vaccines earlier than this, but they're just trying to use this as a little bit of extra encouragement and enticement. And that's because they're going to have, like what we saw with the aged care workers, a fast-track lane at all the vaccination hubs. They'll run this 5-day blitz, and hopefully they'll get as many paramedics vaccinated as possible. But there was one person that the vaccination workers certainly weren't happy to see the other day. Jerome Weimar, the COVID response commander, mentioned in the press conference that there was actually someone who had just tested positive to COVID-19 who then went to Jeff's Shed, colloquially known as Jeff's Shed, the Melbourne Exhibition and Convention Centre, and tried to get a vaccine. Now, luckily, they were very carefully and very quickly picked up by the staff and told to go straight home and isolate again. But you can understand why Jerome Weimar sounded a little bit testy when he said that clearly anyone who tests positive to COVID-19 should not be queuing up getting their vaccine with others, but should stay home and remain isolated.
And Steph, I've just received a text from a Melbourne father saying kids back to school, woohoo, with a big trophy on there. As a parent yourself, give us an insight into the relief that this lockdown, it looks likely this will be restricted and things will go back to normal to an extent.
We certainly hope so. That's definitely the case, that they might be going back. I know that many parents are in the same boat as me, saying that it has been a real struggle. You've got to remember that they lost around half the year last year being in lockdown, and then they had this short burst in February and once again. So it's really been a bit of a stop-start situation for a lot of kids, and a lot of kids have had a lot of difficulties with it as well. We've seen anxiety, we've seen, lethargy abounding, and not to mention the hapless parents. I'm lucky I get to go into work, but my husband's trying to work from home with 3 kids, and let me tell you, it's not a particularly pleasant environment. So we are looking forward to them all going back to school and being in front of the expert teachers to be able to teach them properly again.
I'm sure your husband's a wonderful teacher. And so just before you go, Steph, so a lot of people will be very keen on hearing that media conference today. Yesterday it came through at 10:45 Eastern Standard Time. Any indications that you've heard about the timing of that today?
I'm just having a quick look at my emails. We haven't received a notification as yet. If this is going to be them actually making the big announcement as to the blueprint, I know that in the past that has been held in the afternoon, because you've got to understand that the ministers are meeting today to finalise that. So they'll want to make sure that they get absolutely everything correct before they announce it publicly.
Yeah. Okay, Steph Ferry there in Melbourne.